This is my 1976 MG Midget. It's 50 years old and it's got a bunch of old cracked rubber seals. So in this video, I'm going to go through the painstaking process of replacing a lot of those seals. Alright, I wrote down all the seals I needed and I just got this package shipped in from MGOC Spares. This came from the UK to the US. The shipping was $90. But all the individual seals were so much cheaper that this ended up saving me a lot of money ordering this from the UK rather than ordering through Moss Motors or whatever we have here in the US. And I also got a tail light because this one's been cracked. And I got 2 horns because for some reason there's no horns on this car. So I'm going to start moving over all those seals. I mean, the ones that are going to take the most time are going to be this one here, and then these door seals, including this window seal. This hinge is also busted, so I got the 2 associated parts to swap in. Here's what the taillight body to the car body seal looks like. You can see it's all cracked and just disintegrating. I do have to pull the wires out to snake them through the new gasket first. And here's the new seal, nice and squishy and thick, with the wires fed through. And then here's the other gasket that sits between the tail lamp lens and the tail lamp body. I got the gap pretty equal on all sides for that initial one between the car. At the rear of the car, these reverse lights have 2 of the same gaskets stacked on each other, so that's pretty easy to replace. The body of the reverse light is sandwiched between the 2 seals, so I did have to take this plug off and put the one on the body side on first. On this left side one, when I went to reinstall, I saw that the whole lens is cracked. That's another thing I'll have to add on my second round list of parts to buy. The 2 seals I couldn't find were these rear side marker ones. They're kind of a 3D molded shape. They're like $26 a piece in the US. I don't know if I care that much. And also these license plate lamp ones are also like a 3D molded one. I think those were $6 or $7 each. Couldn't get them in the UK on this big order. Next is this trunk seal. It's gonna go now. The trunk seal is all in now. I got the seam at the bottom where it's least likely to leak. And the difference between the new taillight and the old one on the other side, this is clearly very faded, so I'll either have to get another one for the left side or see if I can polish this and clear coat it and have it come back and look just as red as that side. I'm going to take the old broken one and see if I can polish that up first before I do anything to this. I'm going to use this headlight restorer that I've used on past cars with sun-faded headlights. See if it does it. Alright, that did absolutely nothing. So let's try some fine grit sandpaper. Also got some sandpaper, all these different grits from a previous project. I'm going to try 600, 1000, then 2000, and see how it turns out. I'm using this little dish of water to keep it wet, but 600 really didn't do much, so I'm going to go more aggressive, like 300, and see if I can get that layer off. 300 didn't really do much either, so now it's time for the I'm not asking nicely anymore tool. And we'll see if I can get that peeled off. Alright, so that's after some palm sander treatment and then going 60,000, 2,000. You can see it's kind of better. I probably have to do well over an hour of work on this. On all 1, 2, 3, 4 surfaces to get it looking close to the bottom amber, or to the bottom red. Another 15 minutes with the power tools, and this is all I've got to show for it. I spent a lot of time on the side there. I mean, it's getting better, but honestly, it's the transitions at the seam and the corners here and in the screw boss. Like, I'm never going to be able to get that, and that's always going to stand out. So I'm just going to leave it be for now. The next time I need to order parts, I'll just order a new taillight lens. At the front of the car are these side turn signals. The seal between the signal and the body is this plastic piece, which, I mean, doesn't really go bad, so I'm going to keep that. I did replace the seal inside here where the lens is. The old one was totally disintegrated. I'm not going to replace this seal on either headlight because this ring like jams and locks up, and it's taken me over 2 hours just to get it back on before. I don't care enough. This seal tucked under here is honestly pretty protected from the weather anyways, so I'm not going to replace that one. Now I'm working on the door seal. I already peeled off the cap back here. This actually holds some of the interior trim on, so I'm careful to keep all that folded over here when I put on the new one. Now this one is two-toned. It's got the autumn color inside and black over here. The seal I ordered is just black. Here's that door seal replaced. I got the pinch clip up here. This right part of the seal springs onto the body panel sheet metal tab. Then up here at this end, there's the cap. And I had to trim away the circular part of the seal and have this same right part of the seal stick up inside the cap. Now it's time to start the most daunting part in getting this outer window seal, this inner window felt seal. This is a separate seal. This is all one seal. And then the felt tracks for the window guide. I'm going to have to take the door panel off probably to get to all this. To get the door panel off, I had to take the window roller off, the handle, and then the unlock latch. All those pieces. Now I can get at it from the edges here and pop everything out and get this sheet off. Panel's off, and now I can get at these 3 nuts and bolts to take this quarter window out, and then I see the rear track for the glass felt here. I think I want to replace this rubber piece in here also, and then the felt in this track is actually slipped all the way down, so all that's going to be replaced. Then I have to figure out how to get to this inner seal and the outer seal. The glass might have to come out, but I'm not sure yet. There's also 2 bolts here in order to get this frame out. And there's a hidden nut in here right by my finger. You actually have to roll the window all the way up to be able to get access to get that out. Now the whole thing's loose and I can pull it out. And all this was so that I could get at this seal and replace it, because it's captured by the 3 studs here. Next, I'm taking this upper trim piece off. There is 1 nut here and 1 nut here that have to be removed. And they're lock nuts, so it's kind of annoying to get in there. It takes a bit of a while to undo them. Putting it back on, I'm sure it will be worse. So I can't get this out all the way to put the new seal on. It goes around this post. That's why I need to lift this all the way out. I think until the glass is out. So I'm figuring out how to do that. I think I might have to take these 2 seals off first to get the glass out. I'll figure it out. To remove the inner and outer door seal, the outer door seal has these silver clips that can just be knocked out with a screwdriver. And you definitely need a magnet to pick them up when they fall down at the bottom of the door panel. The inner, it's really hard to see the inner clips, but they're similar and they also require a screwdriver to knock them off, and they're black and blend in with this seal. I took out this bolt, I don't know if I had to, but I took out these 4, and then I was able to pick the window up so that I could slide this whole thing out. That's how I did it. Alright, now I just got the window glass out by sliding the 2 tracks here out of the guide on this linkage. Kind of picked it up and went that direction. So now I can replace, I think they call this glazing here. And now I can get at the other felt track right there. This other felt track has one bolt here, 2 bolts here, and I can pull the whole thing out. Alright, here's that rear track out now. Now I'm just replacing this felt. Got the fresh new felt window guide in, now I just gotta trim it and install everything again. So all this window glazing does is hold the glass into the track, and it's holding in really well right now. I'd have to have some sort of hammer to knock it off and replace that glazing seal. I don't want to risk damaging the glass, so I'm just going to leave this as is and reinstall it. And if this ever did start to fail, the window would start like falling out of the track and it could be addressed then. Now I've got the window back in the track guide. I got the quarter window with its seal there. The window felt guides here, and this little upper corner piece, and the felt pieces in here. So now I need to assemble it all back together and get these inner outer door seals in. Now I'm putting the outer door seal on, and I got 1 clip on, but there's 7 more I gotta put on, and it's really hard to do it because the glass is in the way here. So the inner door seal, I had a little extra piece and I trimmed it, and I kind of made a J-shaped tool so I can go down, in, and under and pull up and get the clip started. Otherwise, it's just impossible to like hold the clip on the tip of my finger and get it started, so hopefully this can do it. Alright, that method worked really well. I got my second clip on, so I'll use that for the rest. Got the front 6 in, then the back 7th, I actually had to take the rear felt track and drop it down so that I could get my J-hook to fit up and get it started, so I'm going to do that now. Getting this inner fuzzy seal in has proven to be the hardest part of the job so far, by far. There are these little clips which are really tough to get on, and you want to have the angled face out towards the glass, and then this face with the 90-degree claws. This isn't that, but you want it gripping on the sheet metal like that. So my method that's worked is I made this tool that I kind of slide down into here, and then I load my clip angled side to the glass, and then I slide this to wherever I need to go, make sure I'm in, and then pull up really hard while holding down with my fingers on the clip too, and that seems to seat it. Almost, it would be impossible without a tool like this. I don't know how you would do it, so just a couple more and then I'll put the door back on. Now for this windshield bottom seal and the 2 seals at either of the feet on the sides, there's a nut and a bolt here, and tucked up inside here a bolt for up there with some spacers. Here's where I took those out. Same on the other side. And then there's these 2 bolts which hold the middle tensioner down, and now the whole thing should lift out. Just got the old windscreen to frame seal out of its track, and this bolt's super rusty. This one's actually sheared off and the head was loose, so it's gone. It's less than ideal, but I'm going to continue on and pretend that's there. Alright, so I just cleaned up and prepped the entire surface that those new seals are going to sit on. I got the new seal in the track, along with the corner post seals here too, ready to go up onto the car. And getting the windshield back on the car is tough because I had to like pre-compress the seal here, while also lining up the bolts through the spacers and through the holes on the car and on the windshield. So that definitely took 2 hands to get that done. Now to get the windshield seal looking all nice, I want it to all be flat. I just finished this half. But you can see this half, there's some wavy portions where the bottom skirt isn't all the way out. And I gotta reseat it, the upper part here. So I'm able to reseat with this part of this trim tool, and then to pull these out I'm kind of just sticking under and pulling like that, and then I'm able to push it flat and get it all to line up. Now the windscreen seal is all flat and tidy. There's some seals here around the wiper blades. I'm going to leave those alone. Obviously the glass seal itself is very old. I don't want to mess with taking the glass out, so I'm just going to leave it be. If there's issues come later on, I'll address it then. I just put in this side window seal. There's a screw just at the bottom that I use to kind of pinch the inner lip. And then I just need to trim this up here. But that pulled out and it just slides in a tongue and groove feature right there. Now the top of the seal is trimmed so that it's level with everything and not sticking up like it was before. I've got this huge gap when the door's closed. The seal's not being compressed at all. So I'm going to unloosen the 2 bolts, manually pull the windshield back 1/4 inch or so, and then retighten them, and hopefully that'll close up this gap. That's definitely not going to seal water. You can see right through into the car. That seal is definitely closed up now, and it's right in line with this first piece, just like it is on the other side. And you can see the circular section is squished. And the quarter window here, the hinge is broken. I have replacement parts, but it looks like I'm going to have to grind down these rivets and maybe thread and do flathead screws to get the replacement ones in, because I don't think I'm going to have the correct rivet tool to replace both parts of the hinge. I got the new side vent window in. It took quite a bit of massaging with this plastic tool to get it to fit all in the grooves, but it's in there now. So before drilling out these rivets and replacing this lower part of the hinge, I successfully got the broken part out of here by just drilling it, pushing a lot of downward pressure, and then just pulling up, and it came out. So this half of the hinge I can keep, which is good. That's going to be a lot less work. It's just the upper half of the hinge, which is on the glass itself, I'll have to replace now. Working on drilling out the rivets here so I can slide this out and put the new one in. Alright, I got the rivets drilled out and this slid out. So now, rather than riveting the new one in place, what I'm going to do is take the new one, I'm going to tap these 2 holes, and then use these 632 screws that I got to thread into there and hold in that way. So that way, whatever breaks again, it is replaceable rather than the rivets. I mean, those kind of are replaceable, but I'd have to take out the entire glass, and I don't want to do that. These screws are actually 832, not 632. 832 or M4 would work. And there's the finished result. It's secured on the hinge. Those flatheads stick out a bit, but the window still closes. When I went to remove this spring that holds the quarter window tension, I screwed up and sheared the bolt here. I should have had a wrench on the top nut and the bottom nut to loosen them first, but I just put a wrench on the bottom nut and it sheared off. I don't think this part is very replaceable. I'd have to take the whole frame out, and it's probably an expensive part. What I'm going to try to do is drill a hole in here and drill a hole in here. And since there's kind of a defined point there where it broke, I can line it up and try and steel stick it together and hope that that is strong enough to hold the spring, the tension, and then I won't tighten these together a whole lot just to get them a little bit snug, and hopefully that will fix this issue. Here's the sheared off portion. I drilled an 1/8 inch hole. I didn't want to go any bigger because then I would probably start to get close to the minor diameter of the threads. So hopefully that's enough. Here it is, JB welded into place. It's not the straightest ever, but the spring still slides over. I'll file it down a little, but the spring slides over. And since I've lost a few threads due to the kind of bead I put all around, I can just stack washers between the nut and the spring to get the same tension on the spring while not running the nut onto the gummed up threads. So with all the extra material around here, it wouldn't quite fit through the door hole. So I used this file and filed down around to try and get the diameter a little more matched. Alright, because I'm non-concentric here, I can't file down any more without starting to damage the threads. So I'm going to move to option 2, which is drilling that hole slightly larger just so I can get it to fit. And that seems to have worked. It slipped right in. Now I'm going to use this stack of washers accordingly. I'm probably not going to use all these, but to space the nut out away from the epoxy threads accordingly. And still making sure I can get the second nut underneath the first nut. And the last thing I need to do is adjust these so that they're actually closing well. Right now I think the issue is this bit right here is interfering with the hinge when I go to close. So I'm going to trim that away and see if it closes better. Same thing with the other side, I want that to line up well. So after trimming that piece, it's much better, but still sticking out. And I think it's my two flatheads sticking out into here that aren't letting it close all the way. I'll see what I can trim there. I just manually forced it in place. And it's completely lined up now. Since I probably won't be using this much anyways. I'm not gonna waste a ton of time on that. And I manually forced this one into place. And it looks good also. I mean, rolling this window down, it's going to get enough air in anyways, and most of the time I'm going to be driving it without the top, so I don't think I care much about wind coming in through these quarter windows. And now both door panels are fully installed with the windows rolling up and down and everything in place. So now I want to finally install my two horns, one high, one low tone. I don't think it matters left versus right. But up here, for some reason the horns were taken off. If I had to guess, there was a short and the horn was blaring, so they just removed them. These connections look okay. That's definitely corroded, so I'm going to take this tool and try and clean that up a bit before I plug in my horns. So I've got them installed on the outer side of the bracket on each side. And we'll see if they turn on. I'm going to turn the car on. That's kind of a weird sound. I don't know if I got the wrong horns or if the high-low, maybe it's supposed to be two highs, two lows, not one of each, or maybe it's a resistance issue. I don't know. Either way, there's somewhat of a horn working, so that's an improvement. Alright, so I unplugged the right side one. And that sounds a lot more normal, so maybe I'll just go with that. Maybe the low drones it down and it sounds weird. Alright, so if I disconnect this horn and connect that horn, they're in series, so that horn doesn't turn on at all. So I can only, if I want only one horn, it's got to be the one on this side. So now I put the low one over here. And I'm honestly torn. I don't know which I like better. Probably having two lows, two highs would be better. This one low, one high mix, which I thought was right, sounds weird. So I'm investigating the horns more, trying one of each, two at the same time. And it honestly seems like a resistance problem because I have both hooked up and they won't make a sound at all. I can actually hear the DC-DC fan picking up, which means it's pulling extra current. So I think it's a resistance problem. It might be the battery's not strong enough, but with the DC-DC kicking on, I should have another 600 watts available. So I'm going to try and really clean this. This might be the whole problem here. It's just corrosion there. I think the mystery of the horn might finally be solved. I saw that the bottom of the horn was like contacting the bottom of the car just barely, so it wasn't able to vibrate properly, and that's why it was a really low sound. So I bent it this way, and now it sounds much better. This is just the high note. So now I'm going to see if I put the low note on, is it just a resistance problem and the low won't go, or is that also a vibration problem? All right, now the two are rigidly mounted. They're both working. So I think it was a vibration problem the whole time. And when it wasn't able to vibrate, that was making it harder for it to make its sound, which was drawing the DC-DC up. All right, we're done. On to the next one. Now on to the final side quest, which is this reverse light switch. So before I go through all the pain of installing it and threading it in, I want to understand how this works and see if I can jump the leads in the wire harness itself to see if I can get the lights to work and see how this works. Okay, I just used the multimeter and confirmed that when the button is pressed down, which is when the shift lever is in reverse, is when these two are connected. So if I jump the two cables together in the car, I should see the reverse lights turn on. I did some wiring tracing, and I back probed the green-brown wire, connected it up with a bunch of cables together to my multimeter, and I saw that there was a green-brown little stub sticking out here. That one there. So I think that ran down to the transmission and it got chopped. So I will figure out a way to connect my new reverse switch to this. On the left side of the shift column, there's actually an access hole where I can install the sensor right there. So to verify that the switch is installed on there correctly, I put it in reverse. Now I'm going to check continuity, and there should be continuity. There is. Okay, I'll pop it out of reverse. It's neutral. Should be no continuity. And there's none. So it's installed correctly, and now I can route my wiring to the harness on the car. Here's the wires I ran through the transmission tunnel, and now I just need to hook them up here on the harness. So just to verify, I've got an auxiliary battery ground. It's the same ground as this 12 volt, and I'm putting 12 volt positive to my green-brown wire, which I know goes back to my reverse lights. And I see this one's on. This one, even if I jiggle, oh, there we go. Just had to break some corrosion free. So those are both on. Now I need to verify that this other plain green wire, which I'm assuming is the power source, going into the switch, this is power coming out of the switch to the lights. I need to double check that this is what I think it is and it's getting 12 volts. Okay, so I'm checking the voltage difference between the 12 volt battery ground and this plain green wire. And I'm only getting 0.3 volts, so that's not what I think it is. I just assumed, I know the wiring diagram showed a green and a green-brown, and this is the only green in that bundle that was clipped. Okay, I take it back. 13 volts on the green wire. It is what I thought it was. I just forgot to turn the key switch, so reverse lights only work when the key switch is on. So I'll connect it all, and this side quest is done. So that's a wrap. I've replaced all the seals I've wanted to, and all I have left is scraps from stuff that I cut off. I actually didn't even need to buy this glazing because I didn't use it for any of the windows. And these two, I bought the wrong part here for the two side markers. Apparently these are for Europe cars, and the US ones have this plastic piece. I also bought a bunch of extra clips that I ended up not needing. I guess I didn't need to buy this lower hinge either because the one on the car was fine. But I know for the next round of parts that I buy, I might have to get a new taillight, a new reverse light lens, these two seals here, and then these seals here. And since it's starting to be summer now, I think my next videos will be driving it around a lot, doing some road tests, maybe driving up some of the canyons here in Utah, and see how it performs.